So let me go over solution for assignment 9. Assignment 9, basically we cover chi-square and goodness of feed material. So the first problem, we have a sample of 1,000 women who had children were asked about breastfeeding and if they had breast cancer. Let's say this is the table you have, those who had breast cancer or not, and the breastfeeding. I ask you to calculate first what is the expected value for cell 1 and cell 4. In order to calculate each expected value, you multiple the row and column for that cell divide by total. So for this problem, for cell 1, for example, 400 is the row and 854 column. 400 times 850 divided by 1000. And then for cell 4, this is the cell 4, the 600 times 150 divided by 1000, you get 340 and 90, the correct answer. What is the chi-square value? Remember, the chi-square is observed minus expected square divided by expected for each cell. You do that and add it up. 52.29 is for for the chi-square value you can calculate. Now the critical value with 1 degree freedom and 99, you find is 66.35. So if you look at the chi-square table, this is the chi-square table, and for 0.9 9 you and with 1 degree freedom, that is 6.63 value come from there. So depend what type of chi-square you're going to look at it. So that is the value. And then since this value or statistics greater than that, we reject the null. So basically the answer for question B is 52.29. What type of chi-square test it is? Because we have one sample and two variables, that is independent. If it was more than one sample, we do homogeneity. And we tested alpha 0.05. The answer was correct. Yes, since chi-square test is greater than, we reject the null and conclude there is association between breast feeding and breast cancer. Problem 2, here we have two group or two population. Each group has 100, and we're asking about whether or not anyone is smoked. The response was that. Again, what is the expected value for cell 2 and cell 3? You calculate that for each cell. I calculate 5500. That is the row, and that is the column for each of those cells divided by total sample. You get that. And the way you calculate the chi-square, again, observe for each cell minus the expected value. You square that, divide by expected, add up for all the cells, you get 0.63. And again, at alpha 0.05 or 95, with 1 degree freedom, again, looking 1.95 is 3.84. You fail to reject. So, and this is a homogeneity test because the smoker status homogeneous for male and female, smoking status not homogeneous. So basically the answer for question for question would be 72.5 and 27.5, 6.63, and homogeneity test. That is the correct answer for that question. So, and for question 3, basically here is we're asking, let's assume that we believe the percent of breastfeeding in the population is 70% and no breastfeeding is 30. We wanted to test whether the observed proportion from our sample from problem 1 differ from significant from this hypothesis. And this is the result you see. So based on the result, you're going to look at the chi-square value or p-value and make your decision. Because our p-value is less than 0.05, then you reject the null and conclude there is a difference there. So that's the correct answer. And question 4, we have a situation time 1 and time 2. And here, for those students smoking, for quitting smoking, and that is the result. And so since you have the same subject, you ask in time 1 and 2, so you have to use McNemar test. And this is the chi-square value you calculate is the cell no yes versus yes no, and you calculate that chi-square value. 50 minus 30 squared divided 50 plus 3 is 5. That is the correct answer. Again, what type of chi-square test it is? McNemar. And again, you're comparing that to 1 degree freedom 0.95, you rejecting, and the answer yes, chi-square greater than the value, and enough evidence to decide the proportion of quitting smoking change over time. So, and question 5, basically, in terms of the article, what statistical test was used was chi-square, and what is variable were significant alpha 0.5. If you look at table 1, it said both race and alcohol use. And what p-value, what is the p-value for Guinness status was 0.06. And are these tests independent? All of them were independent because we were having one sample. So I hope this feedback helped you to understand better, and whatever you